Generally, my sense of the portrayal of LGBTQ stories in the media is that there is this focus on the sex part of the sexuality, and that in particular, I think lesbian stories, with two women together, there's always this focus on the sexy scenes between them. And sometimes when I watch them with my partner, we look at this going, is that us? I don't really feel very lesbian if that's the portrayal of what lesbians are like. Because I think to me, being gay is about love, it's about the relationship, and it's about building a life together. And for us, for Andrew and me, our lives are actually pretty boring in that I go to work, I come back, I'm a typical commuter to my job in the city, and we have friends around for Sunday lunch, and we see our families, and we've built a relationship together over 21 years. And so what I would love to see more is that actually out there in the media and in mainstream stories and books and theatre and films is just to have a gay character or a lesbian character or a transgender character, and it's nothing to do with their sexuality, it's just them. Because in reality, in my professional career as a lawyer and now as a security asset manager in the city in social housing finance, my sexuality has got nothing to do with it. It's whether I'm a good lawyer or a good manager, and that's what matters. And so actually it would be fantastic to see a crime show or a soap opera where people are just people and their sexuality is just part of who they are, in the way that I'm a writer, I'm Malaysian but now British, I'm a lawyer, I'm a manager, I'm, by the way, also happen to be gay. And that's all of my identity. And it seems a shame to have just that particular focus. And of course it's an important part of my identity, but it's not the only thing about me. And it would be just really powerful to see shows or to read books where the characters are just there. And I think one of the terrific shows that has that is Grey's Anatomy, where you've got the two lesbian surgeons, but actually the emphasis is on their relationship as two people trying to bring up a child. But actually the most important part about them is that they are brilliant surgeons. I think as a child, I always had a sense that I was different and that I was drawn to girls and women, but I never really allowed that thought to come to the foreground. And I just kind of put that away, and I thought, I'll get over that. And so in my 20s, I went out with men, and I had some really good relationships with some lovely, really good-looking men. But there was still something not quite right. I wasn't entirely in love with them. And I had a very close, good friend who was a woman, and we just became very, very close. And I realised at one point, oh my God, I'm in love with her. And she didn't feel the same way. And when I realised that it was completely hopeless, nonetheless, I kind of allowed myself to have those feelings. And so it felt like jumping off a cliff. It felt like, would I have to make this choice about my life and step away from everything that I knew and everything that was expected of me? And this sense of a Chinese family of, I should get married, have children. And I would go back to Malaysia, and the relatives, the aunties and uncles would be, so, you're going to get married. And it was really awkward. And I felt, well, I'm going to let my parents down, let my family down. And it really felt like jumping off a cliff. And I portray this in Bound Feet Glues as a literal standing on the edge of the cliff, because the moment of realisation came when we were with my best friend in Australia hiking at Kings Canyon, and we were standing at the top of the canyon looking down, and I thought, oh man, this is what it feels like. But when I did come out to my mother, I was in Malaysia and I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to talk to her. And I got up in the morning, and it was very early in the morning. She was hanging up the clothes in the garden, and I portray this moment in Bound Feet Blues. And what came out of that was really her love for me, because for her, she wanted me to have a happy life, and that to come out as gay, we all know that gay people have a hard life, and particularly, in the past, more so than now, perhaps in the metropolis like London, there is still homophobia, there is still gay bashing and all that, and particularly in an Eastern culture, it's much, much more difficult. And so, but she said to me, you are my daughter, and I will always love you, and I just worry that, by being gay, you're choosing a hard life. And the conversation we had, I portray in the show. And being accepted by my mum and my family has been the most amazing thing. It's allowed me to be myself and to be creative. And I guess by trying to be a lawyer, by trying to be, the good girl, the woman that I was thought I should be, I was repressing everything, including my creativity. And by allowing myself to be gay, I could allow myself to be creative. And so since coming out, I've been able to write my two books, my two novels, to create Bound Feet Blues. I'm in a relationship with Angie. We've been together 21 years. And my parents and my family love Angie, and she loves them very much. And they treat her as a daughter-in-law, which just means so much to me. And because we can have this life together that's pretty boring and normal, because I always thought, and because that's what's portrayed, particularly in the past, of the gay lifestyle, is that somehow it's wicked and evil. And in the movies, the gay one always dies. Even in Brokeback Mountain, the one who is gay, the one who loves, has to die in the end. In A Children's Hour, which is the Audrey Hepburn, Shirley MacLaine movie from way back, the gay one, Shirley MacLaine, the one who loves, has to go and hang herself. And I thought that somehow if I was gay, I would have this terrible, tragic, painful life, and I would have to go, end up in some terrible way. But actually, our lives have been pretty unremarkable, and I feel, gosh, what is there to say about my boring little life other than that I can at last be happy? It would be great to see more LGBTQ stories out there in the different media, in film, in books, in theatre, but not as specifically minority drama, but actually part of the mainstream story, because in reality we are here, we are part of the mainstream. So it would be terrific to actually see fiction and drama portray reality, so that I think one way to do it is, I would love to see more gay writers, transgender, queer writers, creating work that, I think that there are two things. There's work that's created for the community, and that's important as well. But also, it would be fantastic to see work that's created for the wider audience, to take our place in the mainstream. In my TED talk, a TEDx talk, I use my own personal story of the first time I kissed a woman as a personal story from which we can draw universal truths about authenticity, about making change in our lives through small steps. And to me, I see that in my mind as, well, what can a lesbian teach the world? And I think that we, as within the LGBTQ community, can feel proud of the fact that there are things that we can teach the world and share from our own personal experiences, not just within our community, but to the universal, to the as universal truths to the world, in the way that you might read a Charles Dickens or a Jane Austen and draw some universal truths from those characters, or Shakespeare. So why is it that we feel, or the mainstream feels, that a gay story somehow can only speak to gay people? Because we are, gay people are people too. We have important experiences, significant experiences that can help other people in the way that, if you think about it, for gay people, we have to fight to love someone. And there may be institutions that punish us for loving, and yet we still love. That is heroism. That is courage. That is love at its deepest and strongest. So what can that teach the world? Surely something.